presser with Caserio yesterday.
Boots on the ground.
Are we the only radio show in town that had every person from the radio show there? And by every person, I mean me and you.
Yes. And you didn't even know I was there.
I didn't. So I'm listening to this press conference. I'm taking it in. And so I text our group chat, which is Paul and our producer, Sean. And I'm like, here's some of the highlights so far. And then I hear a voice from behind me that I actually, believe it or not, you have a similar voice to my guy, Jeff Darlington, that works at ESPN.
Ah.
And I thought, why is Jeff at a Texans press conference? And then I looked back, and it was one Paulie Maurice.
Yeah, because I sit in the back because I'm a cool kid, and you sit in the front because you're a nerd.
Yeah. Whatever. Well,
You had the better camera angle for your phone, which you were recording the press conference on. So,
I did.
Understandable.
We were boots on the ground, though, but it was
Big J
good
journalist.
to see you there. Big J journalist. And yeah, I texted him, and then I heard his voice, and I was like, oh, we in here.
We were in person for all of Nick Caserio's many, many words.
He uses a lot of words. He's
does.
kind of the opposite of the person that he learned under, Bill Belichick, who will give you 2, maybe 3 sentences. Nick will give you a dissertation on one player who has been cut, as I found out when I asked him about Ross Blacklock, and you found out when you asked him about Max Scharping.
Both were very good players here. That's what we learned for Nick Caserio.
Yeah, you heard John and Lance talking about that.
Very polite. I
Very,
understand
yes.
it. And you know what? I get that his approach is different than Belichick's approach because Belichick's approach makes everyone mad. Caserio's approach just, like the college professor that would go on and on and on. You kind of start falling asleep or maybe thinking to yourself, hey, what do I have to do later today as he continues to talk?
Nick Caserio has gotten, I don't want to say better because that would imply that he didn't know what he was doing, and he always has. But he is now giving some more nuggets of information to where at first he would say a lot of words but not actually say anything.
Yep.
Granted, this was during the Deshaun Watson year, and this was during the year where there were questions about Jack Easterby and all of that. So there were things that he couldn't really talk about but still had to answer. Now I think he's actually comfortable giving context as to why he cut or traded Ross Blacklock, context as to why he's obsessed with Jerry Hughes and whatnot. So I do think we're hearing more from Nick Caserio, which is refreshing.
Yes. What was most refreshing to you at the press conference that we were at yesterday, though?
Most refreshing to me was when he talked about he and Lovie Smith collaborating. I thought that was nice. I don't have to tell anybody that's followed the Texans, been a Texans fan, or has even been national media that there hasn't always been collaboration among this franchise. And we could really go in the weeds to public relations people relating to marketing people and how one person might have turned on a head coach and how that head coach had turned on a general manager. I mean, this was a Game of Thrones style type atmosphere for a while. And that's not, well, it is dramatic to say because no one was killing each other. But it was known to not be very peaceful.
It's been bad, yes.
The fact that now there's collaboration, and there's collaboration among Lovie, who is considered to be an old school head coach, but that is semi-modern, and then an analytics-driven GM from New England. I like knowing that they are getting along, and it does seem genuine. What about you? What was the most refreshing thing to you?
Same thing, because I've been here for the Game of Thrones BS, and I remember going back to 2017 when I was being misled as to what was actually taking place at Kirby Drive. I remember thinking to myself as I was at stone's throw, waiting for a New Year's party to kick off, I was on my phone wondering, okay, is Bill O'Brien about to get fired?
Yeah.
That was my impression. Is Rick Smith going to keep his job? And there was a bunch of other things that have never been revealed that I don't think are still allowed to be revealed about how that battle went down and how Bill O'Brien found his way towards having all of the power in the organization. But then he brings in Brian Gaine, who he finds out he doesn't like. And then all of a sudden he wants all of the power. So look, Gary Kubiak and Rick Smith, I think, had a better relationship if we go way, way back in time to when I first started working here.
Right.
But it's been an acrimonious relationship between the general manager and head coach with this organization for quite some time. I don't know that this will continue, and I think it's important to remember that right now. We're talking on September 1st of 2022. They have not even played a game of Lovie Smith's first season as a head coach of this team. But it's nice to hear that there is a respectful relationship between the two guys who have been in the league for a really long time. Caserio with the best organization in the history of mankind, and Lovie Smith, of course, who...
In the history of mankind.
It is. Yeah. Roman Empire, the United States of America, the New England
Why
Patriots.
don't we hear Lovie talk about, or excuse me, why don't we hear Nick talk about his good friend Lovie and their nice relationship?
It was awesome. It was awesome. We talked, I would say, fairly regularly, obviously, over the last, probably 5 to 7 days. But I think our job, and we have fiduciary responsibility to each other. Me to him, him to me, it's reciprocal. I think he's very open-minded. And what we try to do is take all the information in from the staff as well, because from a coach's perspective, and I've been in that situation, you invest a lot of time, a lot of energy on a professional level, on a personal level with that player. So their viewpoint, their opinion of that player, their interaction with the player, like that matters to us. So it'd be irresponsible of us not to take that information in. Ultimately, Lovie and I have to sit, we have to take everything in, and then make the decisions that we feel make the most sense for our team.
The general manager has to give the coach what he wants. The coach has to give honest feedback on the materials that he's given, because if he doesn't, then you might find yourself in a spot where two people are all of a sudden yelling at each other, bickering about one player that they disagree on. So right now, again, it's early, and we have not even played a single game yet, so this could change easily. I just like hearing that there are good vibes.
Yeah, good. The vibes are immaculate, as the kids say. It is bussin' for real, for real.
On God.
All right. On God. Okay, so that game will be against the Indianapolis Colts. It will be here, September 11th. And Nick Caserio is not focused on the future or the past. Here's what he said about where his focus is.
The training camp portion is behind us. The preseason is behind us. Off to a decent start. Now we kind of reset and recalibrate here, and it's time to get ready to play real football. And really our focus turns to the Colts, and that'll be the first challenge in front of us next week. They got a good football team. Certainly a big challenge in front of us. They kicked our ass twice last year, so we got a lot of work in front of us, and hopefully we have a good week of work tomorrow. Players are off for 3 days, and then next week they'll come back in with the right mindset and get ready to play against the Colts and try to take advantage of the opportunity in the opener, a week from Sunday.
I have a question for you, because you were here for all of last season. Remember last season and this past offseason, we talked a whole lot about how Nick Caserio might have had actually a little bit of input on game day with David Culley.
And whatnot.
Do you think that that's still the case? Because the way that you hear Nick Caserio talking about the game approach, it does make me feel like maybe he is still involved in prepping for the game in addition to doing all the things that a general manager is supposed to.
He was on Pat McAfee a couple of months ago and had talked about how his role and the way that he came up is just different. And look, credit where it's due. He was with the Patriots, and they have non-traditional roles for different coaches, different scouts, and whatnot. He made it sound like he wears the headset but says a minimum. Like he just kind of wants to be in the know of what's going on. I don't think it's necessary, but I'm fine with it. But I do, yeah.
I like it.
I think he's still going to very much be involved. I think if you're Lovie Smith, we've talked about this, how there are certain things with this organization that Lovie Smith and Pep Hamilton and their special teams guy Frank have probably huddled in a corner and said, we cannot change this. Whether it's Easterby is here, whether it's they love Rex Burkhead. There are just certain things, and I think one of those things that they maybe don't love, but they accept, is that Nick's going to be on head. That's my best guess.
You're probably right that they don't enjoy it. I don't think it's a bad resource to have. The guy did a lot of different things in New England, and I know that there are still some who are skeptical of him. I got to say, and I asked him about this, and he said he doesn't expect anything out of players when you first bring them in. You draft them and you hope for the best. But, with already the returns on this year's draft class, you're seeing guys that have earned their way into the starting lineup, where it's not just Derek Stingley Jr. and Kenyon Green, who seems to have already made up a lot of the ground that he missed being out of training camp so long. I got to say, credit to him for getting up to speed. But Dameon Pierce, it's Jalen Petrie. I feel like people should be feeling a lot better about Caserio now. Things can obviously change over a 17-game season, though.
And he was honest, though. Somebody asked him about Kenyon Green and a couple of the other guys, and he was honest about look, this person is still a rookie, or look, they have ground to make up because they were out for a few weeks. So I do think we're getting a little bit more of an open Nick Caserio, which, of course, anything compared to what we've had in the past here in Houston is refreshing.